This is Mr. Sato. Let's talk about theme. Okay, you have to find the theme in some book you read for school. Well, I think that with a few exceptions, theme is the most important element in a work of literature because the theme is the literary work's primary purpose. And by literary work, I mean any written work of art, like a novel, play, short story, poem, or even a screenplay. The theme, and here's your definition, is the central idea of a work of literature. I often oversimplify this term for students by saying it's kind of like the moral of the story, the life lesson the author wants you to take away from the book. It's the message or the meaning. And that meaning isn't just about the characters, it's more abstract than that. It applies to you and me and everyone. The theme is usually universal, but at the very least, it's an idea that's bigger than just these characters and this fictional world. Don't tell me that the theme is that in The Lion King, Simba had to go back to rule his kingdom. The theme is bigger than just that one individual. The theme is that people should live up to their responsibilities because they're needed by the other people around them. You see, that's a theme. Also, theme is not the same as a topic. The topic of a work can usually be expressed in a word or two. Family, courage, the nature of love, right? That's the topic. However, the theme is the idea the writer wishes to express about that topic. It's an opinion, not a fact. So if you tell me that the theme is love, I'll say that's wrong, and then I'll ask you, what about love? The theme isn't a thing, it must be an opinion about that thing. That's why I tell students not to merely Google, what is the theme of this book? Because you'll often get things like, one of the themes of this book is love, or social justice. The way I define it in my classes, those are topics, not themes. Love isn't a theme. Love stinks is a theme. Get it? And it would be best if the opinion you came up with wasn't too obvious, like it's good to be fair. That's pretty obvious, and almost no one would disagree with that, so it isn't very interesting. And if that's all you need for the assignment you're currently working on, you can stop watching now. But theme is actually a little more complicated than that. You know how in life we notice things and have experiences? We put things together in our minds and we gain insight or understanding about the world. We develop generalizations about how the world works or what people are like. For example, after several instances of having people pop up unexpectedly to help you reach some important goal, if you're an optimistic sort of person, you might say to yourself, well, I guess that's how life is. When you're trying to reach a difficult goal worth reaching, help will become available even in the unlikeliest of situations. It's a nugget of wisdom you earned through observation and experience. You do this. Everyone does this. Chimpanzees can do this. Chimps learn that every year about this time, food can be found in this particular area. They make a generalization based on their experiences. That's a similar process as detecting a theme in a work of literature. When you read a work of literature, that book is a model of the real world. It's like a map or a globe. The author who created that model wants you to see the world through their eyes, and probably hopes you'll come to similar conclusions about it. But she doesn't usually put it on a plate and just say it outright because it wouldn't really mean anything to you that way. So she shows you what some slice of the world looks like and expects you to put things together in your mind, just like you do in real life, making generalizations about the world based on these imagined experiences. We gain insight and understanding about the world that way. This is something that chimps can't do. If you show a chimpanzee a map of a room and show them that the banana is behind this door on the map, the chimpanzee can't apply that understanding to find the actual banana in the actual room. This process of making abstract meaning from a model is one of the things that makes us human. And just like in real life, a good work of literature is complex and could contain many themes, some large and obvious, some small and less obvious. If you're writing a theme essay for the first time, it might be a good idea to go with the big obvious theme. That's completely fine. Actually, I recommend it. But if you want a more interesting challenge, you could write about some smaller, more original theme. Either essay could earn you a good grade as long as it was well written and well supported. In some cases, a book could even contain contradictory themes. A play or novel could present two opposing themes and leave the choice to the reader. Or two separate readers could come to opposite conclusions. You might read a book and say the theme was that hard work pays off. Your friend might read the same book and say that the theme was that hard work is meaningless, it's luck that matters. So, just like in real life, two people with similar experiences can come to very different conclusions. And as long as each person can back up their theme with evidence from the literary work, then their opinion is legitimate. Now, this might sound strange, but you can even come up with a theme that the author did not intend or even flatly rejects. The author of a poem might say in an interview that he did not intend for readers to conclude that the strong should conquer the weak, but you might see that theme in his poem anyway, regardless of what he says. And if you can back that up with evidence from the text, then, for you, that's a theme in that poem. The reader owns the meaning, not the author. One of the best ways to find a good theme is, A, to see what happens to the main character. Readers usually identify with the main character, especially if they're a protagonist, a sympathetic character with whom we identify. I say this because some main characters are unsympathetic, like the main character of Crime and Punishment, a very bad guy, and not all readers will identify with him. In either case, if the main character changes over the course of the book in a good way, then the theme could be that readers should do whatever they did. So if a character is heroic in some way, the theme could be that those qualities are admirable and that we should be that way in our own lives. If the main character changes in a bad way, then the theme might be to avoid making that character's choices. For example, in Arthur C. Clarke's science fiction story, If I Forget Thee, O Earth, we learn that the main characters are stranded on the moon because the human race has made the Earth uninhabitable because of nuclear war. Because we see that the character's situation has changed in a very negative way, the theme is to avoid doing what they did. A theme of this story could be that mankind should learn to solve its conflicts without war or violence. And if you're interested in symbolism, here's a key to theme that served me well in college. Ask yourself, if the main character is a symbol for all mankind, what is the author saying about mankind? The answer to that could be your theme. B. Sometimes authors just have a character just state the theme, often near the end of the book. It's often some meaningful conclusion about mankind or some aspect of life. A character might say something like, "Well, Bob, love is like that, isn't it? Sometimes it's sweet and sometimes it's sour, but you know, I'll take my chances." So the theme could be exactly that love can be pleasurable and it can be painful, but it's worth the risk. Not all books contain a statement like that, but some do, and it's worth keeping an eye out for one. C. Another way to find a clue is to look at the title. That won't help with titles like Animal Farm or Romeo and Juliet, which are merely descriptive. But a lot of the time, authors put hints in the title. After you've read Maya Angelou's memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, think about who is like a caged bird in the book. In what way does she, metaphorically, sing? Why does she do that? Why does this caged bird sing? That will point you towards a main theme. Finally, D. Look at the main conflict. What forces are pitted against one another in this story, and who wins? I don't mean what specific characters, I mean step back and look at what big group or idea is struggling against some other big group or idea. Let's say it's a ship captain and his crew struggling against a massive uncontrollable white whale, like in Moby Dick. Look at that in an abstract way. That's mankind versus nature. So maybe the theme has something to do with man's conflict with the massive uncontrollable forces of the natural world. So let's review quickly, and I'll put in some time indexes so if you want, you can rehear those particular sections. 1. Theme is kind of like the moral of the story. It's the message or meaning. 2. Theme is bigger than just these characters and this story. 3. Theme and topic are not the same thing. Theme is a debatable opinion about a topic communicated by a literary work. 4. The abstract meaning in the book applies to the real world we live in. The ability to do this is uniquely human. 5. Literary works can contain many themes, and any theme is legitimate if you can back it up. 6. The meaning belongs to you, not the author. 7. Ways to find the theme include A. Looking for changes in the main character. B. Watching for clear statements of theme. C. Examining the title. And D. Look at the conflict. Making meaning from literature, finding a theme, is one of the best things you can learn because it's a real-world skill that will allow you to learn from experiences that someone else has had, that you haven't actually experienced yourself. And in turn, you can apply that wisdom to your own life to be a smarter and happier person. And what is more important than happiness?